Alrighty fellas, welcome back to yet another educational video. Now this one is very niche. What I mean by that is it hasn't been talked about a lot by many of the creators or science-based living creators, or even just creators in general who have a niche around the gym, especially when it comes to training environment, how important it is for your own progress and your own motivation, your own discipline, etc. It's so important, and I think it's really understated and underrated when it comes to the gym community that I feel the need to touch on it. So obviously, as we can see here, we have the classic Planet Fitness with the old Unk. Most of the time, these people have their long rope attachments out in the locker room. It's just an uncomfortable environment. I've been to commercial gyms. I've done it. It's just not ideal. And then on the right, we got the extremist of the bodybuilding centered approach, which is Metroflex, and then we have Dorian Yates training at Temple Gym. But I really want to go there one day. It's got to be someday in the future. Temple Gym, the red door, and then the stairs down. It just seems like such a peak environment. The Metroflex is like in Texas. It's a huge gym. That's where Ronnie Coleman did the 2,000 pound leg press. So yeah, it's really nice. Okay, so now I'm going to go into basically what commercial versus private owned gyms are. We all know the commercial gyms, so like the Planet Fitness that I just showed, the Lifetime Crunch. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. Anytime Fitness, maybe. There's some standard ones that are chains around the world that many people go to. It's cheap, it's affordable, and they don't really have a bodybuilding centered approach. And what I mean by this is it's just the average person just goes there for like 30 minutes, which is completely fine. They're not going to go home, track their calories, do their cardio. It's not like the main event of their day. As someone who is a bodybuilder, it is basically the main event of their day. They structure their day around the gym. These people just fit in the gym when they can. That's like analogy for the difference. I would say that as I've continued along in my lifting journey, I've become someone that has been centering my day around the gym rather than just the gym is just an extra thing I do in the day if I have time. So private owned gyms, what they are is it's not a chain. Most of the time it's owned by like an IFBB pro or someone very knowledgeable. I'll talk about them shortly, the ones I go to. So the private owned gyms that I go to, so basically the one on the right, bottom right, is the one I go to at school. It's Diamond State Iron. It's a great gym. That's a very old picture. They have a bunch of new equipment now and it looks a lot different, but it's a great gym, great environment. And then at home I go to Freedom Fitness. Again, great environment. He's just starting, so he's still got to get some new equipment, but I could really see the vision that he's going for. So the thing I would recommend for this is pick a gym that aligns with your goals. More than likely, if you're watching this, you're going to be someone that's serious about training. So I would pick a private owned gym for many reasons that I'll talk about. Now, one of the reasons I want to talk about is the equipment at commercial gyms versus private owned gyms. So commercial gyms don't really have expensive pieces. Again, the target audience is just the average person. They don't need expensive pieces. All they need is like a stack that doesn't even go that heavy. Some machines, some dumbbells, it can go up to like 75 pounds like Planet. They don't really require that much because again, like I said, it's just an add-on to their day. If they have time, they don't really care about their progress as much as someone who is bodybuilding would. Of course they do care about their progress, but not as to the extent of someone who pursues bodybuilding is. But most of the equipment is, they don't really have top of the line pieces because they are expensive and their equipment there is mostly outdated. And another thing that I hate about commercial gyms is most of the time it takes forever to fix broken pieces because typically in a commercial gym they have other things going on like classes. I know one of mine, they had like a swimming pool. They had like these like Zen classes. It was just a whole mix of things and the gym was just there and they would focus more on like the Zen things, again targeting towards the older population, which is something that I didn't really like and I didn't align with because if something was broken it would take months to fix, which is so annoying. And 90% of the time, any private owned gym that you go to, especially ones that have been around and established in the space for a long period of time, not ones that are just starting, will mug the other gyms in terms of equipment. Again, on the right, I have a list of some of the equipment that commercial gyms would have versus private owned. So from my experience, a lot of commercial gyms have Precore, Life Fitness, Hammer Strength. They are good brands, but again, they're outdated and most of them are not like top of the line. They don't feel great sometimes. And then moving on to private owned gyms, they mostly have Prime, Arsenal, and Nautilus, which is it's just so buttery. If you've ever tried it, like Atlantis also too, I forgot to put that in there, but it's just so nice. And then another good thing about private owned gyms is this is like an ad for private owned gyms, is that the owners will listen to suggestions rather than commercial owned gyms, which is basically a group of people, investors, who you really don't have any leeway or a liaison to get to contact with them. You could email them. It takes a whole process as if the owner of the private owned gym is just there. He's probably working the front desk and you could just suggest things to him. It's so much better, so much of a more community-based environment rather than a hierarchy-based environment, if that makes sense. Now, talking about community, commercial gyms typically have a wide range of people. You have the older people, you have the younger people, you have a very wide range of people. And you do have the people that take bodybuilding seriously at commercial gyms, but it's such a small percentage of the people of the total population that it's very niche and hard to find them. So it makes it very hard to find a common ground and a sense of community when training at that gym, because you're just not gonna be able to get it, because there's not a lot of people that have the same passion or interest as you if you are serious about bodybuilding. And not every, you have to learn to accept that if that's where you could train. Again, they are cheap, so they are a great environment to train in if you don't have the money. But private owned gyms typically have a lot less members, which is nice because the gym's empty, but a very strong sense of community. Again, it's quality over quantity. Commercial gyms typically have more money coming in because of the population, the general population goes there, so they're able to get more equipment. It's just a quantity thing, and the quality of private owned gyms is so much better than the commercial gyms. So all this community and the sense of community, you can literally look to your right, you see someone going ballistic on hack squat, you look to your left, you see someone going crazy on bench. Like, it's just more motivating than ever at a commercial gym, where you would just see people just getting trained and doing like the row machine, like literally the row machine, like rowing a boat. But if your goal is bodybuilding, I would definitely recommend switching to a private owned gym, because you'll be surrounded by IFBB pros. Again, you'll be surrounded by people that are way bigger than you, which motivates you because you're not going to be the big fish anymore, if that makes sense. At the community, the community is so much better on a private owned gym. Literally what I was talking about, you're not the big fish. So commercial gyms, you might be the big fish in a very small pond. And what I mean by this is because people are typically not as large at commercial gyms. They're typically just mediocre gym goers. Like, it'll be the people that you see that, I'm not like bashing them, but it'll be the people that you see do the same weight, same reps, look the exact same for years. And of course, they just want to stay in shape. That makes sense. Maintaining, it's a great way. Any activity is better than no activity, but it can be kind of demotivating to see yourself progressing and getting bigger than these people that you once thought were huge. And it's just demotivating overall, and it doesn't make you take training as serious. Because if we take the scenario, your friend group is 5 millionaires, you'll become the 6th. If your friend group is 5 small people who take the gym not as serious, you'll become the 6th. If your friend group is 5 bodybuilders, you'll become the 6th. Like, it's that scenario over and over again. So nobody takes training as serious. But at private owned gyms, you will not be the big fish, because I'd say about 60% of the population there is, pinning the juice. So you're not going to be the big fish, trust me, especially if you're natural. So they train hard. You might be more in the top percentage of training hard, but you'll look around and you'll see people way bigger than you, and it's so motivating you. So motivating to be in the bottom 50%. Like at the Arnold, I was easily the bottom 50% because there were so many people that were pinning that were there. And it was just an amazing experience, and opened my eyes into how much I have left and how much this sport and the depths of the sport. Like, I'm at the tip of the iceberg. The sport goes all the way down. It's just so cool to see. Okay, now this is getting into some not pseudo really, but theoretical science. So it's kind of going to be a snowball effect. So motivation has been proven to reduce perception of effort. So I'll talk about the graph on the right, but POE is perception of effort, and it's been proven through many things like mentality, music, and environment. And what that does, perception of effort, if you are motivated and you have all those things in line, on the stars all align on one day, you're going to be able to do more weight, more reps, as opposed to if you were not motivated, you didn't have any music, your environment was like crud. So the more motivated you are to do something, the reps will seem much easier. The load will seem much lighter, which will, as a result, lead to more mechanical tension, which produces hypertrophy. So in the long run, it's not going to be a huge difference, but there will be a difference to maximizing everything that we can, which is one of the things being the environment. And then the graph on the right talks about perceived effort. So if we look at, it's basically the RPE, so it goes 1 through 10 on the y-axis, and then on the x-axis it goes from 40 to 100% of the 1 rep max. This was done on a study of a group of people, and as you can see, the low motivation state versus the high motivation state, the RPE, or the perceived effort, is much higher for the low motivation state as opposed to the high motivation state. So that means it's much easier for the people in high motivation. So if you're in a good environment, that can lead to higher motivation to push more weight and train harder. So to end this, can you build muscle at both gyms? Yes, you can. I'm not saying that you're not going to build any muscle at a commercial gym or you're going to be way smaller. You can still build muscle. I'm talking about maximizing your own potential, and progress may be faster at a private owned gym. This is completely subjective, but I feel like it's pretty objective in the fact that if you take bodybuilding seriously, it makes sense to train at a bodybuilding centered gym. It's not going to be a drastic difference. It's not going to be night and day, but it definitely does help. It makes my training more enjoyable. So I wanted to share this with you guys. And if you are in between picking a private, or if you're switching gyms, picking between a private and commercial owned gym, just this helps you weigh out the pros and cons. And you really just have to look into your own desires and your own wants for training. And if you're someone that wants to take it seriously, I would definitely go towards the private. If you're someone that likes to train but doesn't necessarily take it as seriously, go towards the commercial gym environment. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, that's the last slide I always check, but I'll plug my code. So Longo1 is the code for Bucked Up. Tap in. I have some electrolytes from them. I'm about to take it soon because I'm about to head to the gym. Then I also have some non-stim, great for at night lifts, and some clothing I wear occasionally, so it is pretty good. It is a good brand, so I would tap in for 20% off. Then Gympin, tap into LONGOLIFTS for that code, 10% off. You get seatbelts, you can get like actual gym pins. It's super helpful for progressive overload. And then what I recommend for taking your training to the next level, along with switching to a private owned gym if you want to, for a bodybuilding centered approach, tap into the Discord for any training advice, training environment, etc., because it's going to be a huge difference. Being able to bounce ideas off people, send your physique, send your training. So it's just a good community that I want to see flourish in the near future. So tap in if you haven't already. It's always in the link in description or in my TikTok links in the bio. But I'll see you guys in the next video.